think about this for a second. You've got uh, brilliant surgeons, right? CEOs running huge companies, top athletes under crazy pressure.
Yeah, people at the absolute top of their game.
Exactly. They've mastered these incredibly high stakes situations. But then they tried trading stocks, crypto, whatever, and they just get hammered. It's baffling sometimes.
It really is. What is it about trading that trips up even these super accomplished people? Is there some, I don't know, secret strategy they're missing?
And maybe it's not about strategy at all. Maybe it's something internal.
Well, that's the puzzle, isn't it? Yeah. That's what we're digging into today. Trading looks like this wide open field of opportunity, right? Click a few buttons, make a fortune.
The dream.
The dream, yeah. But the reality for so many people is just this emotional whiplash. A few wins get you excited, then bam, the losses hit.
Yeah.
And it's fear, frustration, anger.
Yeah, the classic roller coaster. So why does that happen, even to the smartest people?
That's the million-dollar question. And to really get a handle on it, we're doing a deep dive into a book that's frankly become legendary for traders wrestling with this stuff, Trading in the Zone by Mark Douglas.
Right, Trading in the Zone. Now, you hear that title, you might think, okay, this is about finding the perfect trading system, the best indicators.
You'd think so, but Douglas pulls a bit of a switcheroo. His whole argument, and what we're really going to unpack, is that being consistently successful in trading, it's not really about what system you use.
Okay.
It's fundamentally about how you think,
Yeah.
how you approach the whole thing psychologically. He calls it cultivating a winner's mindset.
A winner's mindset.
Yeah,
Okay, and
right.
for you listening, the learner, you're probably swimming in tips, strategies, market forecasts. It's overwhelming.
Totally. So think of this as cutting through all that noise. We want to get to the absolute core of what separates the traders who make money consistently from, well, pretty much everyone else.
And it's not about finding more information.
No, it's about processing the information you have in a completely different way.
I like that. And, even though we're zeroing in on trading here, I have a feeling these ideas, managing fear, dealing with uncertainty, keeping your head straight, they apply way beyond the markets.
Oh, absolutely. Starting a business, big life decisions, just navigating everyday ups and downs, the principles are universal.
So our mission today is pretty straightforward. We want to pull out the most crucial insights from Douglas about the mental game of trading. Give you a shortcut, sort of, to understanding why thinking differently is the absolute key. Not just for trading, but anywhere things are uncertain.
Let's do it. Where should we start? Maybe with that core paradox.
Yeah, let's. Why is trading, which seems to offer almost limitless potential, just so incredibly hard for most people to actually master?
It is a paradox.
Yeah,
You see incredibly smart people, doctors, engineers, lawyers,
right.
people who are super disciplined in their day jobs.
Right. People who work hard, who analyze things deeply.
Exactly. And they just can't seem to make it work consistently in trading.
Hmm.
They pour hours into charts, build complex systems, but the profits just aren't reliable.
It really flies in the face of the idea that if you're just smart enough or work hard enough, you'll succeed. Douglas even mentions, ironically, that some of the worst traders are these highly accomplished professionals.
He does. And get this, some brilliant market analysts,
Yeah.
people who can actually predict market moves pretty well.
Yeah.
Terrible traders.
Yeah.
They can't trade their own analysis successfully.
Wow. Okay, so if it's not just raw intelligence or amazing analysis, what is the secret sauce then?
It really boils down to mindset.
Yeah.
That's the differentiator Douglas hammers home. The consistent winners, the ones who seem to navigate the chaos calmly and pull out profits, they just think differently.
How so? What's different about their thinking?
They've cultivated this unique set of attitudes. Discipline, focus, yes, but also this deep confidence that isn't shattered when they inevitably have a losing trade.
So they don't avoid losses because that seems impossible.
Exactly. They can't avoid them, but they accept them. They see losses as just a normal cost of doing business in the markets, and crucially, they keep executing their plan anyway.
Okay, let's unpack this winner's mindset a bit more. What are the key ingredients?
Douglas calls it the trader's mindset.
Yeah.
At its heart is discipline, focus, confidence, like we said, but also this core belief. It's almost counterintuitive.
Go on.
The belief that you don't need to know what's going to happen next to make money.
Wait, really? Isn't the whole point to predict the market?
See, that's the common assumption, the trap. The trader's mindset embraces the unpredictability. It accepts that, look, anything can happen at any moment.
Because there are just too many variables, too many other people trading.
Precisely. Each moment is unique. So instead of trying to be psychic, They focus on identifying and trusting their edge.
Their edge. Okay, what does that mean?
An edge is basically just a set of conditions, a pattern maybe, where the probability of one thing happening is slightly higher than another. It's not a guarantee, just a statistical tilt in your favor.
Okay, so it's like a casino. They don't know if the next spin will win or lose, but they know the odds are slightly with the house over time.
Exactly like that. You act on your edge again and again, knowing that over enough trades, the probability should work out. Any single trade could be a loser, that's fine. It's the long game that matters.
But that must be where the mental battle comes in, right? Because intellectually, okay, probabilities, I get it. But emotionally?
Emotionally, it's tough. Because our ingrained beliefs, our gut reactions, they often scream against just calmly playing the probabilities. That's where the mistakes creep in.
And what are the biggest emotional roadblocks? What stops people from thinking this way?
Oh, fear. Without a doubt, fear is number one. Douglas points out 4 big ones that really mess traders up.
Okay, what are they?
There's the fear of being wrong. The fear of losing money, that's a big one. Fear of missing out, FOMO. And then the fear of leaving money on the table when you actually have a winning trade.
Wow, yeah, those are powerful. I can feel those even just thinking about risk. How do they actually mess up trading decisions?
Well, they distort everything. Take the fear of being wrong. It can make you hesitate, right? Your system says go, but you freeze. Or worse,
Wow.
you hold on to a losing trade way too long just hoping it turns around because you can't stand admitting you were wrong and taking that small loss.
Oof, yeah. And the fear of losing money.
That can make you jump out of winning trades way too early. You grab a tiny profit because you're terrified of it vanishing.
Okay, so those first two make you hesitant or cause you to cut winners short. What about FOMO and leaving money on the table? They sound like they push you the other way.
They absolutely do. Fear of missing out drives impulse trades.
Yeah.
You see something moving, you jump in without a real edge just because you don't want to miss the ride.
Been there.
We all have. And then fear of leaving money on the table. That tempts you to ride a winner too long, getting greedy, hoping for more and more, until the market turns and wipes out your profit.
So all these classic trading mistakes, getting in too early, too late, not cutting losses, taking profits too soon.
They're not usually the market's fault. Douglas is clear on this. They are self-generated. They come directly from these fears, these flawed ways of thinking. Fear basically hijacks your rational brain.
It's like fear puts blinders on you. You only see the potential downside.
Exactly. It narrows your focus. You obsess over avoiding pain instead of just objectively seeing the information the market is giving you and executing your plan. You can't think clearly.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And it leads right into another point. Douglas makes the danger of relying too much on market analysis. Why isn't more analysis the answer?
Look, analysis is necessary. You need it to find your edge, right? To spot opportunities.
Yeah.
But Douglas warns against chasing perfect analysis.
The holy grail.
Yeah, the idea that if you just study enough charts, read enough news, you can predict everything. It's impossible. The market is just too complex, too dynamic. Think about it, countless traders, all with their own beliefs, reacting to news to each other.
Plus random events, right?
Yeah.
Things nobody saw coming.
Exactly. Those black swan events. No amount of looking at past data can prepare you for everything. The market can and will do unexpected things.
So trying to analyze everything perfectly is a losing game.
It is. And often, that relentless drive for more analysis. It comes right back to that fear of being wrong, fear of losing. But it's a trap because the fear itself clouds your judgment.
How so?
You get analysis paralysis. You're so busy trying to nail down every possibility, striving for absolute certainty that you either freeze and miss good trades or you overthink and second-guess your own signals.
Okay, so if perfect analysis isn't the goal, what is? Douglas talks a lot about needing to accept risk. What does that really mean in practice?
It means fully, deeply accepting that every single trade you take has an uncertain outcome. Losing is possible. It's not just possible. It's an inherent part of trading. It's the cost you pay for the opportunity to profit.
But accepting it intellectually is one thing. How do you accept it, like in your gut, when real money is on the line?
Yeah, that's the hard part. True risk acceptance isn't about liking losses. It's about internalizing that a single loss or being wrong on one trade says absolutely nothing about you as a person, and it doesn't invalidate your strategy if it have a positive expectancy overall.
Detaching your ego, kind of.
Totally. When you truly accept the risk, market information stops feeling threatening. It's just information, neutral data. It doesn't trigger that fight or flight fear response anymore.
Right. And trading is this environment with almost no rules, no boundaries. Douglas says you absolutely have to create your own rules. And exercise restraint. Why is that so vital?
Because unlike, say, poker, where the bet sizes might be limited, or a sport with set rules and a playing field, trading is wide open. You can basically do anything, anytime, any size. There are no built-in guardrails.
So if there are no external limits, you crash and burn unless you build internal ones.
You got it. You have to create your own structure, your own rules.
Yeah.
That means things like always predefining your maximum risk before you even click the button to enter a trade.
Knowing exactly how much you stand to lose if you're wrong.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And having a clear plan for taking profits and for cutting losses. No hesitation. And it means sticking to your trading system religiously, even when your emotions are screaming at you to do something else.
That takes serious discipline.
Iron discipline. And constant self-monitoring.
Hmm.
You have to watch out for getting cocky after a few wins. That
Yeah.
euphoria can be just as dangerous as fear. It leads to recklessness. You need that self-awareness.
This all ties into responsibility, doesn't it?
Pardon?
Douglas really emphasizes taking complete responsibility for your results.
He does, and it's crucial. He says the market basically acts like a mirror.
A mirror. How so?
Your results, your wins, your losses, your consistency or lack thereof, they aren't random noise. They're a direct reflection of what's going on inside you. Your confidence, your fear, your discipline, your beliefs, it all gets reflected in your trading account.
So blaming the market or bad luck or your broker.
Is just avoiding looking in that mirror. It's refusing to take ownership of your own mindset and actions.
And if you don't take responsibility.
You can't learn, you can't grow. If it's always something else causing your losses, you'll never look inward to fix the actual problem, which is usually your own thinking, your own psychological hang-ups. You just stay stuck, looking for the next magic system instead of working on yourself.
So, okay, this idea of consistency. Douglas says it's not just about having lots of winning trades. He calls it a state of mind. What does he mean by that?
He means genuine consistency in trading doesn't come from trying really hard to be consistent or hitting some arbitrary win rate. It flows naturally from having the right underlying beliefs and attitudes already in place.
So you can't just force it.
No. He compares it to trying to be happy while you're constantly doing things that make you miserable. It feels forced, unnatural, unsustainable. Consistent results happen when your thinking is consistent with how the market actually works.
He also mentions being in the flow or in the zone. How does that fit in?
That feeling of effortless action, where you just see the opportunities and act without hesitation or fear, that's a result of having this consistent, non-resistant state of mind. You're not fighting yourself anymore. Success becomes almost a byproduct of your mindset, not something you have to strain for on every single trade.
Okay, this is powerful stuff, but maybe still a bit abstract for some. Douglas gives us 5 fundamental truths about trading. These sound like the bedrock for this whole probabilistic mindset. Can you walk us through them?
Absolutely. These are huge for aligning your expectations with reality and cutting down that emotional interference. Okay, truth number 1. Anything can happen.
Anything.
Anything, because you just don't know what all the other traders out there are thinking you're going to do next. There are always unknown forces at play.
Okay, makes sense. Truth 2.
You don't need to know what is going to happen next to make money. This hits that probability point again. It's not about prediction. It's about playing the odds over time with your edge.
Got it. Less crystal ball, more statistics.
Exactly. Truth number 3. There is a random distribution between wins and losses for any given set of variables that define an edge.
Meaning even with a winning strategy, the wins and losses don't come in a nice, predictable pattern.
Nope. It'll be random in the short term. You might have 5 losses in a row, then 10 wins. You just don't know the sequence in advance.
That is a tough pill to swallow for anyone who likes certainty.
It really is.
Oh.
But accepting that randomness is key. Okay, truth number 4. An edge is nothing more than an indication of a higher probability of one thing happening over another.
So not a guarantee.
Not even close. Just a statistical advantage, that's it. And finally, truth number 5. Every moment in the market is unique
Unique how?
because the players are always changing. The combination of beliefs, fears, and goals driving the market right now has never existed in exactly the same way before. So what happened last time isn't a perfect guide for what happens next time.
Wow. Okay, those 5 truths really challenge a lot of common assumptions.
They do. And truly internalizing them, really believing them deep down, is what starts to neutralize the emotional charge of trading. You stop expecting certainty, you accept the uncertainty, and that dramatically reduces fear and those impulsive mistakes.
It's about getting your internal map to match the actual territory of the market.
Perfectly put. Now, Douglas also talks a lot about Beliefs, our own personal beliefs, and how powerful they are.
How do they fit into trading?
Well, our beliefs basically act like filters, don't they? They control how we see things, how we interpret information. They create our expectations about what should happen.
And they drive our actions.
Absolutely. And they determine how we feel about the results. If you deeply believe, say, that losing money means you're a failure, then every single loss is going to feel devastating, personally painful.
And that pain then influences your next decision, probably negatively.
Exactly. It creates a vicious cycle. So a huge part of developing that trader's mindset is identifying your existing beliefs that might actually be sabotaging you.
Beliefs we might not even be fully aware of.
Often, yes. Beliefs about risk, about being wrong, about money, about needing to be perfect. Douglas points out there's often this massive conflict between these old ingrained beliefs and the probabilistic thinking you need for trading success. Just understanding probabilities intellectually isn't enough.
You have to actually change the underlying belief.
You have to work on it consciously.
Yeah.
Identify the conflict and actively install and reinforce new beliefs that align with those 5 fundamental truths. It takes deliberate effort.
Sounds like some serious mental reprogramming. Douglas simplifies the activity of trading, though. He calls it a pattern recognition numbers game. What's he getting at there?
He's boiling down the mechanics, yeah, while stressing how psychologically difficult it is. But basically, you use your analysis to spot recurring patterns. That's your edge.
Okay.
You define your risk for trades based on those patterns. You have a plan for taking profits. You do this consistently. The outcome of any one trade is uncertain, but over many trades, if your edge is real and you manage risk, the numbers should work in your favor. Pattern recognition, numbers game.
Simple concept, hard execution.
Extremely hard execution because of everything we've just talked about. And he lays out 3 stages traders typically go through: mechanical, subjective, and intuitive. That first one, mechanical, is key.
Right, the foundation. What happens in the mechanical stage?
This is where you build the bedrock. 4 main things. 1, building self-trust, trusting yourself to act appropriately in this boundaryless market. 2, learning to execute your system flawlessly. No improvising, no second-guessing based on fear or greed.
Just follow the rules.
Just follow the rules. 3, actively training your mind to think in probabilities, really drilling those 5 truths. And 4, building an unshakable belief in your own potential for consistency, independent of short-term results.
So the mechanical stage is like trade a boot camp for your brain, forcing discipline until it becomes belief.
That's a great way to put it. The strict rules of mechanical trading are a tool. They help you override the emotions, the biases, the old conflicting beliefs, and install the principles of consistency until they become dominant, automatic.
Okay. And within this stage, he gives us 7 principles of consistency. More rules to follow.
Think of them as guiding principles for operating with that probabilistic mindset. They're really practical. Want me to run through them quickly?
Yeah, let's hear them.
Okay. 1, objectively identify your edges. Know exactly what you're looking for. 2, predefine the risk of every trade before you get in. 3, completely accept that risk. Be okay with the potential loss or don't take the trade. 4, act on your edges. No hesitation.
Just do it.
Just do it. 5, pay yourself systematically. Take profits when your plan says to. 6, continually monitor yourself for errors. Stay self-aware. Watch for fear, euphoria, mistakes. And 7, understand these principles are absolutely essential. Never, ever violate them because you feel like it.
Those are concrete, actionable.
Very. And to really hammer these home, to make them real, Douglas suggests a specific trading exercise.
Oh, yeah. What is it?
It sounds simple, but it's tough. He says, commit to taking the next 20 occurrences of your defined trading edge using your system with absolutely 0 deviation.
20 trades, exactly by the book, no exceptions.
None. Doesn't matter if you have a bad feeling. Doesn't matter if you think this time is different. You see the signal, you take the trade, manage it by the rules, period. 20 times.
Why 20? Is that a magic number?
Not magic, but it's a decent sample size. It starts to mimic how a casino operates. They don't care about one spin. They care about the results over thousands of spins. 20 trades forces you to experience the random distribution of wins and losses firsthand while sticking to your edge. It builds trust in the process, not the outcome of any single trade.
I can already imagine the internal battle doing that exercise, the urge to skip one or tweak the rule.
Oh, absolutely. Douglas says expect major internal conflict. Your old fears, your need to be right, your desire to avoid any loss, they will scream at you. How much you struggle is basically a measure of how strong those conflicting beliefs still are.
So how do you push through that? How do you manage that internal fight?
Discipline, focus, and reinforcement. He suggests literally writing down the 5 truths and 7 principles. Keep them in front of you. When those conflicting thoughts pop up and you consciously acknowledge them, then refocus on the principles and follow your rules anyway.
Stick to the plan no matter what your gut is yelling.
Exactly. The goal of the exercise isn't necessarily to make money on those 20 trades, though you might. The real goal is to resolve those internal conflicts through consistent, disciplined action that aligns with probabilistic thinking. That's how you forge the winner's mindset.
Okay, so bringing this all together after this deep dive into trading in the zone, what's the absolute core message you think our listener, the learner, should walk away with?
I think the biggest thing, the most powerful shift, is understanding that consistent success, whether it's trading or anything else with uncertainty, it's primarily about your mindset. It's not about finding some secret technique out there. It's about the internal work.
Transforming how you think.
Exactly. Really getting those 5 fundamental truths and 7 principles of consistency deep into your bones. That's what neutralizes the emotional hijacking, lets you operate objectively, confidently, and, yeah, ultimately more consistently.
That is a fundamental shift in perspective. So maybe a final thought for you, the learner, to chew on. If the market or whatever challenge you're facing is truly neutral, just offering potential opportunities without judging you, what internal shifts, what changes inside you might you need to make to stop fighting yourself and actually start grabbing those opportunities?
Good question.
Maybe spend some time thinking about your beliefs about risk, about what it means to be wrong, about uncertainty itself. Maybe being in the zone isn't some mystical place you have to find. Maybe it's a state of mind you can actually build right here, right now.